The black community has many problems. We all know that. One black person does something bad and it reflects on everyone else. Not just the individual, but the entire community. But that's not what we're going to talk about here. We need to address something else.
We've got this thing, they hate themselves. I'm just gonna say it, black people hate other black people. They hate them with a passion.
Let me ask you this. Why is it perfectly normal for so many black people to throw their life away? Why do we see so many people who don't value life? They disrespect not just the person they hate, but their entire families.
Oh, my nigga. Can we get some music?
This level of ignorance has gotten so many people killed. You never know what people carry with them these days. You go around arguing and fighting. Then one thing leads to another and someone ends up in jail. Is this worth your life? Now let me make this clear. The point of this video is not to disrespect the black community or put every person in the same box. The goal is not to stigmatize people who belong to any culture. The point is to raise awareness of a key issue worth discussing. We are seeing this problem everywhere, but it has become so common that most of us are kind of blind to it. The number one problem is that a big part of the black population is glorifying degenerate culture. It is so easy to fall in with the bad crowd and start hustling. It doesn't matter if you live in the hood. No, ghetto is not a location, it is a mentality. You can be born middle class or rich and still have a ghetto-like mentality. There are a ton of people out there who come from money and still make bad choices. They are more ghetto than someone who lives in the hood. And I think all of this has to do with glorifying degenerate culture, whether that is trapping and even killing. Let me ask you this. How did we go from this to this? Or from this to this? From respectable and refined to immature and aggressive. From people who value family to someone who doesn't think twice about having multiple children with different baby mothers. Women have children very young, stay unmarried, and continue to explore countless dating opportunities without considering the effect this will have later in the child's life or their own. Some people don't know how to work out their differences with words in the hood. They don't know how to talk things through. It just jumps straight to violence. Many times the cops get involved or it turns bloody because someone says something or stepped out of line in some way. You can't let it slide. You need to show force to make people respect you. There are many cases where people are emotionally unable to have a mature conversation. The Boondocks had a good take on this.
Watch where you walking, nigga. Hey, what you say, nigga?
Unfortunately, there is a huge taboo around this topic because the second you start talking about it, people assume that you are criticizing the entire Black American culture and are hating people because you believe in biological racial differences. But it's not about that. There are some parts of hood culture that can easily be explained by socioeconomic disparities, but there are also other parts that are just toxic. Hood culture is self-perpetuating to a certain extent. Yes, it is caused by poverty, but it also causes poverty. It is caused by racism, but it also causes racism. Some people would rather spend $10,000 on a gold chain than get their health checked out or invest in something proper.
Rings, watches, chains.
So I paid like 20 rings, 8 rings. That's like 160.
Like if you are the best trapper in town, then you are a boss. Everyone wants to be like you. They look up to you. The same thing happens with being promiscuous. No other culture glorifies that as much. Some black people would look at another average 9-to-5 type of guy and say he is basic. If he doesn't drive a fast car or trap, then he is boring. This doesn't make any sense. Women are also flaunting everything they got every single time they get out of the house. A lot of them go out with barely any clothes on and twerk on the streets. This is popular as hell. It seems like a good number of women want to be outside. They all want to have a roster, have a couple of guys with a ton of money, get drunk as hell, and don't even bother about the consequences. It has just become the norm. Not only do men view women as sexual objects, but women also over-sexualize themselves. And we all have our role models to blame. Think about it for a moment. Who do these women, men, and kids look up to? Sexy Red, Future, City Girls, Nicki Minaj, NBA Youngboy. Their influence has shaped an entire generation. These celebrities don't have any good values or principles whatsoever. It is all about money and status. The more you got, the better off you'll be. The problem is a lot of black people want to achieve the same level of success, but they will literally do anything other than work a normal job. Anything but that. Don't get me wrong, there are a ton of black people who've achieved a lot in life. They are hard workers, highly successful, and very intelligent. There's apparently nothing interesting about trying to become an engineer, nurse, lawyer, or sales specialist. All people want to do is become a rapper, trapper, and hustler. They want to become famous on social media, become an influencer. Some of these people would go even as far as to try and turn their kid into a rapper. How is it okay for a 9-year-old boy to be rapping about rape, drugs, and killing people? His lyrics are so hyper-aggressive that it is even terrifying. You can only imagine what this kid has been through to speak and act like that. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people in the black community are starting to realize that there is absolutely nothing wrong with a normal 9-to-5 job. But for those who are still stuck in the ghetto-like mentality, hard work just doesn't pay off. Politeness is considered a weakness, and being a scammer, stealing, and selling drugs gives you the upper hand. But this is also a trap. People are throwing their lives away, and for what? Just think about the hood cycle of violence for a moment. How often do you think a gun gets drawn? Look at the hood crime rates: assault, rape, robbery, murder, burglary, theft. The list goes on and on. Based on the latest data, property crimes have gone up. While murder drastically increased during the pandemic, there was a 6.1% year-over-year decline in non-negligent manslaughter and murder in 2022. In 2020, over 75% of murders were done with a firearm. Out of the 5 states in the United States considered to be the most dangerous, 2 of them are located in the South. Let's talk about the black male homicide epidemic. For many years, gun violence has had a drastic impact on black communities. It has killed tens of thousands of people and injured hundreds of thousands. And who dies the most because of gun violence? Young black men. In 2022 in Philadelphia, 1 in every 67 black men ages 18 to 24 was killed or injured by gun violence. In Rochester, New York, it was 1 in 50, and in Cincinnati, it was 1 in 44. Most shootings in these cities and in similar communities across the country are committed by a very small number of people, but their effect lingers and spreads across the entire country. It has traumatized so many young women and men that we are going to feel its consequences for the years to come. Here's what the numbers say. Leading cause of death of black men, homicide. The average age of most victims of firearm homicide, 18 to 24. Which cities have experienced the most disproportionate gun homicide? Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis, New Orleans, and Baltimore, all of which have a large, segregated, and disadvantaged black community. Just look at the number of deaths of rap musicians. Tupac Shakur, Nipsey, Takeoff, PNB Rock, Lil Snoop, all of them died at such a young age, and shooting was the most common cause of death. For the common folk, scamming, stealing, and selling drugs is a big business, but it almost always ends badly. So let's say that people do get a lot of cash. In most of these cases, even if they end up making a huge pile of money, many of them end up spending it on jewelry, designer clothes, shoes, fast cars, clubbing, drinking, doing more drugs, and so on, all so they can flex. But the concept of saving money seems to be non-existent, especially for rappers. Every famous person who has become rich owns big chains and starts splurging. They want to maintain their image by any means necessary. They buy grills and watches that cost more than your house. Rings and bracelets so flashy, you can see them from a mile away. Many other cultures, on the other hand, are afraid that they could lose all their money. So they start investing them in other opportunities or ventures that can help them maintain their financial independence. Materialism is a big thing in the black community, and that is completely understandable. We live in a materialistic society where displays of wealth are something that is constantly being promoted. People can display their wealth in a lot of different ways, but more often than not, the ghetto black culture takes its inspiration from rap, hip-hop, and the entertainment culture. What we have ended up seeing over the last 30 to 40 years are ostentatious displays of wealth in the form of designer clothing, gold chains, and luxury cars. In a sense, if you want to show the world you are wealthy, you need to buy something that everyone knows is expensive. This is a free society, so people of any race, background, and religion should wear whatever they like. But if you are spending your entire life savings just to maintain a certain image, that's when things can get out of control. Luxury was created to keep you poor. All these rappers and influencers spend their money to look like they have money, while real investors who plan their expenses spend their money to make more money. Let's just take a moment and look at the black community from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. From the way they dress to the way they act and present themselves. They are so elegant and sophisticated, even when they lived in such dehumanizing conditions and were surrounded by severe racism. They still did their best to make themselves presentable and walk with pride. You can see that by the way they walk, talk, stand, and sit. They look fresh and clean. They look so nice at a time when they were considered second-grade citizens. Now, we see men walking with saggy pants and women selling their bodies online, or simply posting pictures on social media to a point where you can see their underwear or chests out. Where did our pride go? Why do we let degenerate culture define us? Then we also see women and men disrespecting each other. From men being disrespectful or abusive to their girlfriends or the mother of their children, to women physically and emotionally abusing men. People are fighting each other in broad daylight. They are yelling and screaming behind closed doors. You can just look at the younger generation today and tell that they have no idea what real love is supposed to feel like, how healthy people should react, or how they should be treated. Instead, they feed onto this toxicity and have little to no things to look forward to in the future. Women are constantly being sexualized. Children grow up watching this and want to go out looking like this. For many women, this is a form of self-expression, but whenever they do dress highly provocatively in public, they end up attracting the wrong attention. What children see, they imitate. So it's no wonder why we see so many young people glorifying criminal behavior. They see it everywhere, in the neighborhood they live in, the music they listen to, and the TV shows they watch. This brings us to another problem which is highly prevalent in the Black community. This problem is so big, it can cost someone their life. This is the no snitch mentality. This is happening everywhere, and it is feeding into the criminal mentality. So many people see snitching as something that is morally wrong, but in reality, the only way to get justice for someone is to keep people safe, keeping the community safe, not try to cover up for abuse, corruption, murder, rape, molestation, grooming, and so on. So many are abused and molested by family members or friends of the family that in some cases, it is better to keep quiet than to do something about it. It requires a lot of social complicity. If someone from the family gets caught, it reflects poorly on the rest of the family that made it possible in the first place. But it can also open up a lot of dirty secrets. So it becomes this crime protected by silent cohesion. Then we say the police always come too late. Many people live by this street code. I know who did it, but I won't tell the police. Now let me make this clear. It is completely understandable to want to stay safe when you are afraid of what reporting someone can do to your life. If you might be in danger, then it is better to stay quiet. But when you have too much crime in one area and the entire community suffers, that's when we start to see a problem. Look at this. Lowe's put a full cage because people were stealing too much. So instead of just making a 20-minute trip to the store, you have to spend at least an hour getting the things you need. There are many local Home Depots that are full of cages. Even going to the Walgreens pharmacies and CVS pharmacies takes forever. If you want to buy something simple, like a bar of soap, you have to wait in lines or ring a bell or something just so they will come and serve you. Not only are these stores understaffed, but the workers are also overwhelmed because of the sheer amount of robberies and thefts that are happening everywhere. People steal so much that store owners have to lock everything up, and this is affecting entire communities. Everyone who can't afford something can try to steal it. People just come in with their backpacks and get whatever they need from the aisles and run. Store owners and onlookers can do nothing about it. Just look at how these people are robbing a Nike store. It looks like a free-for-all.
Seeing at other major LA malls. Chief Michael Moore tweeted today that there were two other reasons.
Some people will say they are stealing for survival. I get that. I have 100% more sympathy for those who steal food or water because they can't afford it. Not everyone has a roof over their head or a warm bed, and that is completely understandable. But when we see people robbing a Nike store, stealing cosmetics, a Bud Light, pliers, this is not a necessity. There is no excuse for bad behavior. It is absolutely mind-blowing how fast people turn to stealing and how big of an impact this can have on law-abiding citizens. They keep stealing and stealing, causing a lot of business owners to lose a ton of money. Sometimes these losses can be so substantial that owners have to close shop. And in many of these cases, the owners live in that community. They are a part of the same community which is trying to destroy their livelihoods. Again, this is a small percentage of people. Not everyone is like that, eager to steal. But the behavior has become so common that it is difficult to overlook. Both younger and older people have been caught stealing. This kind of mindset stems from toxic and negative influences which are highly present in the hood. People are being fed these things that luxury is good and stealing is easy money, that they become a product of their environment. But then when they pick the wrong store to rob and the store owner takes out a gun, we all know how that ends. Cases like these are all too common and end very badly. However, when people live in crime-infested neighborhoods, the no snitch code becomes a basic code of survival. So even if people know who stole or shot a person, they won't trust that the police are going to protect them. They can't practically do so because they don't have the manpower to do it. For example, snitching on a local drug dealer or gangster can have your family killed. Even things associated with petty crime can end up getting someone hurt. Also, the fact that law enforcement focuses on punishment and not rehabilitation or crime prevention, being a snitch won't let you help anyone. It just makes things worse for them. And if you've lived in these poor areas, then you can understand where they are coming from. So you decide to back down. The police, on the other hand, especially among the black community, are seen as dangerous. That's because they tend to harass people of color, especially in crime-ridden neighborhoods. If you snitch, you risk being shunned. Nobody will trust you after that. The police may even make you an informant, and the more people you lose, the sooner you realize just how quickly you put your life at risk. So the best thing is to just forget about it, ignore it, and lay low. Here is another problem we need to talk about: Black Lives Matter. Check this out. After raising $90 million in 2020, Black Lives Matter has $42 million in assets. Where is that money? What has changed? Yes, we have seen some improvements over the years, but how far have we come from breaking the stereotypes about black men and women in general? I'm talking about the stereotypes against black men being bad fathers, abandoning their kids, and having a bunch of different baby mamas. We can see how these stereotypes have reflected on the younger generation and how these men turn out to be. There are so many black women who raise their kids all by themselves, and as black men, more have to step up and be there for their kids. This is the only way to break the cycle, to break the stereotypes that all black men are terrible fathers. By being there for their children, they can instill values in the child's mind so that the child can grow up and do something different. Have a family of their own, a healthy home, and a healthy relationship dynamic. Because of the way things are going right now, we can only see this getting worse. Based on data from the American Community Survey, black children who grew up in single-parent households are about 3.5 times more likely to keep living in poverty compared to black children who were raised by both parents in an intact marriage. The thing is, we also see a lot of black mothers becoming single parents by choice. Having to deal with high divorce rates and traditional constraints of marriage, a lot of women decide to parent alone and enjoy it. Of course, there are many cases where a marriage can fail, whether it has to do with cheating, abuse, different goals in life, or anything else. But what matters here is how we raise our children to value life. It is time for the black community to reform and start valuing family, education, hard work, and good health. The truth is that black people don't have a community. We do, but it is divided. That's because it may sound harsh, but the fact is, a lot of black people hate one another. And this is a growing problem. You see, a lot of black people expect to see racism outside their circle. You go to work and interact with a lot of different people. So at one point in time, some form of racism is going to show itself. But imagine coming back to your own community and seeing the same form of hatred there as well, just from a different perspective. So you go to work, fight a war there, then you come back home and fight another war. Why would people want to go through the same thing over and over again? Because we see a lot of black people hating each other. It is just heartbreaking. There are many reasons people hate each other, but a lot of times it has to do with insecurity, toxicity, comparison, and jealousy. Think about it. Years of generational trauma, jealousy, and constant comparison have been so engraved in the child's mind that so many children have grown up with serious negative energy that has been passed on from generation to generation. It is the envy that is destroying the black community. When people see their brothers, sisters, cousins, or friends doing better than them, it starts to hurt their egos. There is clearly a lack of resilience. Instead of helping each other and supporting one another, we can see that many people from the community become enemies. This creates a serious division. It is self-destructive behavior. So those who've managed to succeed in life learn when to walk away. They learn how to deal with certain people and situations. That's because some people don't want to see their friends or relatives succeed. This is 2024 and it is still happening.
Please. Next thing you know, they'll be talking a whole bunch of shh about you. Oh man, he think he better than such and such and such. He think he's better than us.
There are so many black people nowadays who haven't learned the trait of being genuinely proud of someone else and their achievements. Instead, comparison and envy become their biggest thief of joy. When someone else excels at something, they see it as a threat, like some kind of problem that has to be dealt with. To overcome this, we have to look at one another on a soul level. not how much money we make, our race, or diploma. We just need to treat people with respect and stop focusing so much on external factors that don't have any real substance. Poverty can indeed create such a division, but to stop it, we need to understand it. Other people's success can make you feel insecure. It can make you think about all your failures, mistakes, and shortcomings. Unfortunately, our society teaches us to value status, possessions, and money. It is making us stuck in this empty and unfulfilling mindset that supports capitalism and commercialism. But what really matters are the intangibles: how we help others, how we treat others, how we give and take. If we would just listen to people, hear their stories, and learn from all our past mistakes, we can always do better. The more you focus on your goals and aspirations, the less likely you are to go off track and do the things you hate. You won't need to rely on the crowd to maintain your image. And just because someone is making more money than you do and they are younger than you, it doesn't mean you are anything less than them. It means we all have a different journey, and that's okay. Every life is special. There is no need for us to compete with anyone because the only one we should be competing with is the person we were yesterday. Anything else is a waste of time. Hondas are good and Toyotas are good too. Don't let people and advertisements dictate your lifestyle. It is absolutely fine to be average. Even if you can't invest in something big and become a billionaire, you can still have a healthy life. It is the simple things that matter, and we need to learn to appreciate that. Of course, not everyone is the same, but when there is poverty, there is going to be a lot of toxicity. Where there are negative behaviors and attitudes, it can be difficult to escape. Instead of preparing our children for the future, we give them things and different forms of entertainment that glorify bad behavior. Instead of helping our children grow as individuals, we let this immoral and undignified behavior serve as a role model. The reality is, a lot of people are resistant to change. We carry this thug culture like a badge of honor, when in reality, we create this entire image that cripples the Black community. What do you think are the biggest challenges that the Black community should overcome? Everyone has something that they are dealing with, but how far do you think people should go when they need to tolerate disrespect? How long will it take for Black Americans to come together and work as one? Do we even get a chance like that? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, thank you for watching. See you in the next video.